going on, Jeromes? So your Minnesota Vikings are on the cusp of free agency as legal tampering opens on Monday. New league year starts on Wednesday. And the Vikings, they do have a little bit of room to play with in free agency because... So I always love that this originally it was a Spielman bit, but then, of course, Brzezinski took over. So your Vikings are currently sitting at around $37 million in cap space up here in the top right corner of the graphic. This is via over the cap. Now SpotRack has them at 40, but it's different calculations of how they do things, so it's whatever. Either way, the Vikings have some decent cap space as the right meow, and want to walk through. So we did this video a couple weeks ago, but now there's more information about who potentially could be staying or going, and the Vikings, if they want to be big time players in free agency, they could certainly get after things. Now, I hear what you're saying. Well, why are you spending money on free agency, bro? Why not just roll it over because the Vikings won't be competitive? That's not how the team sees things, right? And you may want to tear it down and completely rebuild from the studs up, and the Vikings should and could be in the quarterback of the future business, and the Vikings may be shedding some more veteran contracts this year and basically having a complete turnover of the table, but it's not how they see it. So I think the Vikings will be players in free agency, and I think they will be going for that pin. So let's talk about how they can free up even more cap space with a handful of very realistic moves, as timing does matter on some of these things. So first up, like we said, Vikings sitting at 37. Keep that number in mind as we go through. Now, there's a couple of no-brainers. First up is cutting Dean Lowry. So Dean Lowry has a $3.7 million base salary, which becomes fully guaranteed on the third day of the new league year, so Friday the 15th. So cutting him is going to be gone. Now, you see there are pre-June 1st and post-June 1st. So the difference is if you cut them pre-June 1st, that is on the 2024 books. But if you cut them post-June 1st, you can split some of the dead cap hits from 2024 and then into 2025. So that's the line of demarcation. But with Lowry, I'm just going to cut him now. All right, so cutting Lowry, that is extremely easy, straightforward. Save around just north of $2 million in cap space. So that one makes the most sense. Next one up is what's going to happen with Harrison Smith, right? So now the Vikings can wait this thing out because Harrison is on the books for $14.45 million base salary, but none of it is guaranteed until kickoff week 1. So there isn't a trigger date like the third day or fifth day of the new league year. So they can just sit, and frankly, Harrison has earned that right to think about things. Now, you look at the free agency safety market, it's gotten flooded with a lot of talent. Justin Simmons is out there. Kevin Byard is out there. Cheeseburger Eddie Jackson is out there. So Harrison may see that there's not a lot of money in free agency and come back at a severely reduced rate yet again, just like he did last offseason, or he may take a cut and already have a wink nudge deal with Zimmer in place with Dallas or another team, or he could just retire, right? And if he retires, the Vikings realize the full-on cap savings. But again, Harrison has earned that right, but just know that they can give him some time because, like we said, there isn't a date where any part of his salary becomes guaranteed. But say the Vikings do cut him as a pre-June 1st cut, so they would save just north of $11.3 million in space. So there you go. Also, we need to talk about the void year dead cap hits. So the 28.5 for Kirk, which comes home to roost if and when his contract voids on Wednesday, March 13th, is 28.5. Danielle Hunter is at 14.9, and also Marcus Davenport is 6.8. Now, if any of those three are not under a new contract by March 13th, then all those numbers do come home to roost, but it's already baked into the cake. It's already baked into the Vikings salary cap in terms of dead cap numbers. So whether they're back, whether they're not, sort of whatever. And if I was a wagering person, I would actually put a couple of jelly beans on a parlay of Cousins and Danielle and Davenport not being on the Vikings in 2024. I think that's where we're currently at. So ipso facto, the Vikings actually save more cap space because they don't have to pay Kirk Cousins, which is going to be 40, 45 million per year. They don't have to pay Danielle Hunter, which is going to be 22, 25 million per year, and they don't have to pay Davenport, because why would they? No, there you go. All right, so those are two straightforward moves. Next one is extending Justin Jefferson. So JJ is on his 5th-year option, $19.743 million. So the Ravens did this with Justin Madubuike, who was on the franchise tag. Essentially, it's the same thing. So if Madubuike would have played on his franchise tag, would have been a $22 million cap hit. But extending him, even giving him his 4-year, $98 million deal, actually lowered his cap hit. They actually halved it down to around 11, I believe. So with JJ, I won't say cut. No. So extend. That's what we're going to do, man. So this is how we do. All right, so we're just going to do ease of math here. And this is completely simplistic back of the envelope map. So we're going to give Justin Jefferson 3 years at $38 million guaranteed per season. So that's what we're going to do. So $38 million. Oops, what do we do here? $38 million there. And you get $38 million, and you get $38 million. Now, I understand. Isn't that a huge number? Doesn't matter. With the cap going up, also with CD and Jamar Chase being in the Derby in terms of getting paid, I think that's about where we're at. Now, also what we're going to do is we're going to take his $19.743 million 5th-year option, and we're going to convert that into a signing bonus. So the league minimum for a player of his experience is $1.125 million. So we're going to take everything down to that. So it's the same amount of money, but we're just adjusting when the cap hits are going to hit. So right now his cap hit for 2024 is $19.743 million. We're going to convert the bulk of that into a signing bonus. We're going to convert $18.618 million of it into a signing bonus, and then we're going to basically just give JJ the league minimum. So now his 19.743 cap hit went down to just shy of $6 million. So now you see the Vikings have gone from 37 all the way to 64 million in space this season. And again, the JJ extension, the Harrison Smith either cut or retirement, and Dean Lowry being cut, and those three are very easy and straightforward moves, and also things that are very realistic for the Vikings. So last one. So Brian O'Neill. If and when Kirk Cousins doesn't come back, would have the highest remaining salary and the highest remaining cap hit. And with O'Neill, they got to make a decision on O'Neill. Ooh, looking at Adidas sneaks. That's right. So O'Neill is 29. He's in his 29-year-old season. And injuries as well as level of play, I still think that he could play at a high level, but they got to make a decision for the future. So he's under contract through 2026, his age 31 season. And for the Vikes, they've already restructured Brian O'Neill a couple times. But something you got to be careful with is you don't want to restructure players who are not going to be on the team, because that's when you get these huge dead cap hits for players that aren't on your roster, and you don't want to have that. It's like why they didn't restructure Thielen 2 off seasons ago, because they knew they were going to move on. But with O'Neill, if they're convinced that he can resume his high level of play and he can do that for the next 2-3 years, then that's pretty straightforward. And they can basically convert his $14.4 million base salary into a signing or roster bonus. So we'll just restructure him. Straightforward. Again, restructures are different than pay cuts. Pay cuts are not restructures. That's all. So again, straightforward, easy peasy. They did the math for us. There you go. So now the Vikings are up north to $73.7 million in cap space. So the Vikings freed up just south of $40 million in 4 moves that are both very realistic and also moves that probably should be made. And also take into account, Murphy, Harrison, Phillips, they could free up $5.3 and $6.5 million respectively if they cut them pre-June 1st. Or Bradbury is a name to watch, because Bradbury has a bad back. He's missed time. Well, don't I know that? Has missed time each of the last 2 years with the same back injury. He is 29, which is almost 30. And the Vikings, his $4.65 million base salary becomes fully guaranteed on the 3rd day of the new league year on Friday. So they could get nuts. They could they could get nuts in this spot, and if they cut Bradbury, they're almost pushing an extra $40 million in cap space up to 76. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I think Lowry is gone. I think Harrison Smith, maybe they'll make a decision on him, or maybe they'll just let Harrison ride this thing out, because they could always cut him if they need to, especially after June 1st. That would free up even more cap space. They obviously want to extend Justin Jefferson. It's going to take a mint, but I think they get it done. And O'Neal, they could restructure if they think that he's viable for the next 2 seasons. So again, the Vikings are in really good cap shape. And also, look beyond that. I mean, the Vikings are going to have $100+ million in cap space because Kwesi and Brzezinski have done a very good job of the last 2 off seasons, and this one where they've gotten rid of some of the veteran bad contracts from the Spielman years. Well, don't say bad because they're good at the time, but just really cleaning up the books. So the Vikings, either way, I mean, the Vikings realistically are probably going to go into 2025 with a future franchise quarterback in year 2, Justin Jefferson hopefully under contract, and a very young team with $100+ million in cap space. I mean, that's where the Vikings could potentially be. So I mean, the future is bright, but also the future could be now as well, as the Vikings should and could go after some premium free agents. We're talking about Christian Wilkins, we're talking about Michael Onwenu, we're talking about Patrick Queen, we're talking about guys like that. So that's it. Freeing up cap space. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.